Everyone, um, welcome to today's Ethnic Media Services Zoom News Conference. I'm Julian Doe, EMS co-director and today's moderator. Our topic today is how minority small businesses affected by the LA wildfires can access resources and assistance from LA County to recover and receive other free consulting services to grow their businesses in the long run. LA County is home to over 1.3 small businesses, with more women and BIPOC-owned businesses than any other in the US. While a thriving community, these small businesses continue to recover from the lasting economic setback of COVID-19, only to face new challenges brought by the 2025 LA wildfires. Many lost buildings and property in the LA fires have been projected between 28 billion to 54 billion US dollars in economic losses. And these figures could grow by another 9 billion over the next 5 years. To address these hardships, LA County is stepping up efforts to support small and minority-owned businesses with relief funds, legal assistance, and insurance guidance. Our speakers include Kelly LoBianco, Director of the LA Department of Economic Opportunities, Liana Austin, Director of Discovery World Early Education Center, Richard Gomez Trejo, owner of Wraps to Go Gomez Trejo, and Patrick Nye, Regional Director for the Los Angeles Small Business Development Network. We ask speakers to speak slowly for our interpreters in Spanish, Mandarin, and Korean. And we ask reporters to enter questions in the chat. We will send a video of today's briefing and expanded bios with contact information for each speaker to all participants later today. Our speakers are also encouraged to answer questions in the chat throughout the conference. Each speaker will present roughly 6 to 8 minutes, followed by 4 minutes for Q&A, which I will moderate. So we open with Ms. Kelly LoBianco. Ms. LoBianco has a long track record in small business development. She is the first director of the LA County Department of Economic Opportunities, which was created in 2022 as the county's central economic development agencies that seeks to unlock the potential of its local workers and small businesses and drive new competitive investment that create quality jobs, career pathways, and diverse talent pipelines. Before that, she served as Chief Program Officer for the HOPE program, which focused on workforce development and social enterprise programming in the green economy. And Ms. LoBianco was also Assistant Commissioner for Training for the New York City Department of Small Business Services. So, Ms. LoBianco, when people think of Los Angeles, images of Hollywood, theme parks, cars, and high-tech companies usually come to mind. But it's actually the small businesses that form the economic backbone of the county. So it means that help small businesses recovering from the LA wildfire is of utmost important. Please give us an update about the economic recovery of the LA County and the programs, and also the solutions that the agencies is offering to help the impact of small businesses. And beyond that, we understand that your agency's mission is just not to respond to crisis, but also to create opportunities for small businesses and to grow. So, Ms. LoBianco.
Thank you, Julian. I really appreciate that introduction. Good morning, actually, good afternoon, everyone. Appreciate the time to talk a little bit about the Department of Economic Opportunity, what we've been doing over the last 60 days in the wake of the windstorms and wildfires, and present some information on a couple new programs that support small businesses in our region. I very much agree with Julian that small businesses and entrepreneurs are the backbone of the LA County economy. We have over 250,000 small businesses, but over a million, like Julian said, when you count sole proprietors. There's a lot of folks with an entrepreneurial spirit here in LA County. Um, and they help us run day in and day out. They provide essential goods and services. They provide spaces for communities to convene. They provide the cultural identity and vibrancy of our region. And so it's extremely important for us to support our small businesses. And that's one of the main goals of the Department of Economic Opportunity. In the last 60 days, there has been devastation for many of our communities. We know that there are tens of thousands of individuals who lost their homes and have been displaced. But what hasn't been talked about as much, and is starting to come out in the news stories, and so I'm really appreciative of the opportunity to be here today, is the impact on our workers and our small businesses as well. Um, Brick and mortar small businesses lost their structures or were damaged in the windstorms and wildfires. And then even if those folks who were in the fire zones, emergency evac order and warning, or even those throughout the county beyond those immediately impacted fire perimeters, folks closed temporarily and permanently or had revenue impacts from these major events. There was devastation that was felt region-wide. So our department, we stood up a website. We're going to put a couple of things in the chat as I go through this, just so folks have it. An emergency website that provides information on daily events and webinars, resources for workers and businesses, and connections to technical assistance in multiple language with our own job centers and at the disaster recovery centers, but also throughout the county. And so we'll put that in the chat right now. We encourage folks to go look at it. This is where we are putting the latest information for small businesses. Thank you. It's in the chat right now from Angela. She'll help me out throughout the presentation. The Department of Economic Opportunity is also at our UCLA and Altadena disaster recovery centers. So folks can go see us 6 days a week. If you need help, come there. It's the greatest collection of government resources that you can possibly find. Everyone is there to help you. FEMA, SBA, as Pat will talk about, and the unemployment insurance and disaster unemployment insurance are all extended through March 31st. It's important for folks to know they can still sign up for disaster assistance, and they can go to the disaster recovery centers and access help applying. And that's in multiple language, and they can use as much one-on-one time as you need. We also have a permit one-stop in LA County. You can find it on our emergency website that can help folks who are looking to rebuild access expedited help through our public works, our regional planning, our fire department. The Department of Economic Opportunity is there too. So we are there to provide services for folks who might need to think about training, technical assistance, and other programming. We did close a recent relief fund yesterday. We hope that folks applied, but we know that that's not the only capital people will need. So we encourage you to go to the emergency website for the latest grants that are available through DEO and others. And we also created a space sharing site for folks that have been displaced that need a place, a warehouse, a kitchen, a storefront. And there are many people donating spaces across the county. So going to our business to business space share site, it's kind of like a Craigslist, a free web portal where folks can list their spaces that they have available, and displaced businesses can search those listings, and then we can match them together so that they can find a place to temporarily work and do business. Those are a couple of things I wanted to mention high level on the fire. 2 programs I want to talk through quickly because I know we have a lot of things to cover are our legal aid for small businesses. The department launched legal aid for small business with 2 partners, BEDZEDEC and Public Counsel, in the wake of the pandemic to help businesses recover and rebuild their resiliency. We know this continues to be a need regardless of the major economic disruptions, especially in but especially now in the windstorms and wildfires. This program offers legal assessment, workshops, one-on-one counseling, and referrals to no-cost legal representation and other resources. So to paint you a picture, some of the legal services may include commercial lease agreements, employee safety, wages and paid leave benefits, contract negotiation, intellectual property, tax liability, business entity structure, and bankruptcy. In the wake of the fires in our current moment, we also are seeing an uptick in asks from businesses on insurance, scams and price gouging, commercial rent and evictions, and immigration rights. So we encourage folks to sign up for this no-cost legal service through our partners at Bedzedek and Public Counsel and DEO. You can access these services by visiting DEO's Office of Small Business at our East LA Entrepreneurship Center. We will put the address, the phone number, and the website in the chat. And you can also sign up by going directly to lalegalhelp.org. On this website, that you'll see all of our partners, and you can watch pre-recorded videos in multiple language. You can sign up for webinars and one-on-one appointments with our partners. There's an upcoming workshop in Long Beach on March 20th. And call directly at 866-375-9511, but we'll put that in the chat. The other program I want to talk about before handing it off is our Microenterprise Home Kitchen Operation. The department supports micro enterprises and small business, as you just heard, during fires all the time. Every single day of the year, we're thinking about small businesses, and that includes our local food vendors across LA County. And I will say our vendors were impacted by the fires, but countywide, we're serving our food vendors and helping them start and grow. The county passed a sidewalk vending ordinance in February of 2024 that created a sidewalk vending program and permit called the Sidewalk Vending Registration Certificate in unincorporated Los Angeles County that allows food and other vendors to come into the formal economy, and operate compliantly. The program offers outreach to vendors as well as our brick and mortar businesses and residents on the new law. It offers educational workshops to get folks registered and access other necessary licenses and permits like their food handler's permit and capital for carts and business needs. Similarly, the county passed a Microenterprise Home Kitchen Operations Ordinance in May of 2024. If you signed on early, you heard some folks talking about how this isn't a new concept, but it is new in LA County. And so this new Microenterprise Home Kitchen Operations permit called MEHKO launched through our Department of Public Health in November of this past year. This permit is another pathway for food vendors countywide to grow their business in their own home kitchen. The basics are that you can operate a home kitchen that also serves as a commissary space for 2 vending carts as needed and can sell and serve up to 30 home cooked meals per day, not to exceed 90 per week, and annual sales of $100,000. To help vendors and food vendors and home cooks learn about this opportunity and growth plan for their businesses, DEO has done a couple things. We stood up a MEHKO webpage where you can access information on the new permits. We're going to put that in the chat. We're offering one-on-one concierge services, one-on-one counseling through our Office of Small Business, same place that you can go to check in about our our legal aid program for small businesses. And we're hosting workshops with public health throughout the county all spring and ongoing. There's a link to sign up for these on our MEHKO website. And we have 2 upcoming events, on one day, March 29th, in both English and Spanish at the South Whittier Library, as well as 9 additional events upcoming in April and May. People should go in person. Don't do this alone. You can work with us. A big selling point that we hope makes you excited if you're a home cook or a food vendor is that we are offsetting the first year permit cost of $597, which is 100% subsidy for 1,000 applicants through June 30th, 2026. You also need to know that the sidewalk vending permit in unincorporated LA County is also $0. So please sign up. We're encouraging you. We're reducing the fees so that it's easy to sign up. One last thing, and then I'm going to pass it on. They're going to want to know about this one because it's a grant. Is that for our food vendors in unincorporated county, we also just launched a new small business mobility fund, a formalization grant program. That means you can access up to $5,000 in payments for permit costs, commissary space, carts, and other business needs. The grants are open now. The dollars will be going out on a rolling basis, and we're going to put the information in the chat, virtual webinar on the 18th, and you can find that on the website as well. Thank you, Julian. I'll pass it to you. Very much appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, that is quite a lot of resources that the LA County is offering. It's really impressive. I have one question, and also there's a question in the chat. My first question is, do you also provide language access at the LA County if somebody come?
That's right. Yeah. We have services in English and Spanish. We have staff that speak multiple languages. We have our materials are printed in 14 threshold languages. And we try to do our webinars and our in-person events in multiple languages, as you heard with the one that's going to be happening at South Whittier on the 29th.
Yeah, it truly is a one-stop shop place that small businesses can go to. So one question from in the chat is, what are some of the common requests that people have come to your agency for help in the aftermath of the fires?
Yeah. So I would say the things that people ask us the most generally are not that different from what they're asking for us from the fire, but I'll explain. We know that folks need just concise access to information. They need one-on-one support in signing up for a variety of things, whether it's like a business plan or signing up for a grant or loan. They need that technical assistance to help gather their documents and make the right choices for their own business. And they need capital. So people need capital to start their businesses, to start them up and to grow. In the wake of the fires, it's actually all of those things too, but they're a little bit particular to the moment. So the things that we've been talking to folks in the very first days are how to sign up for FEMA and meet their essential needs. Many small business owners are home-based businesses, so those that are impacted may have lost their home and their business. But people need cash relief now as they wait for state and federal relief to come online. And they need to be able to be in contact with government agencies that they may never have talked to before and have a supportive resource to help them navigate that, which is why the department is at our disaster recovery centers and the Permit One Stop. We know many people that are reeling in the aftermath of the fire have never had to access government support in this way, and may be nervous about what to do, and obviously in crisis. So that's what we're hearing.
Great. Thank you, Ms. LoBianco. Please stay on, and there will be more questions from the press, and as well as when reporters have questions for you and your team, please don't hesitate to answer them in the chat. You mentioned about the legal aid service earlier, and we have the Discovery World Early Education Center led by Ms. Liana Austin. And she will talk about how she has benefited from this program. Liana Austin is director of Discovery World Early Education Center, which was founded in 1988 by, I believe, her mother when she was 2 years old. The school mission was to provide high quality early care and education services for children from 0 to 5 in a clean environment where children can grow in all areas of development. The business was impacted by COVID and also recently the LA fires. Through the county legal aid program, the business received help in navigating many legal issues, including leasings, and these really so crucial that to help the school stay afloat. So we'll have a conversations with Liana, and so Liana, how did your school start? Your involvement and the school missions, and I mentioned that a little bit, but then there's got to be a lot more on that.
Yeah, so my mom, she worked in special education. She has a credential and degree in child development and special education. And when I was born, she was looking to go back to work after a little bit, and she couldn't find an early education center that provided the curriculum, excellent ratios that she was looking for, and that was clean and had a curriculum. And so she decided to change careers. She herself took more development classes like infant development and opened up an infant center and preschool more than 35 years ago. She opened it when I was 2, and I went to the school. And then over the past 35 years, we've become an integral part of the community. We've stayed in the same area. We've offered essential support to working families. We have a longer school day option than some early education options. And we really focus on taking children where they're at and scaffolding their development. We still have a very positive approach to accepting students with special needs, which can also be challenging for parents who have children with special needs because some preschools aren't able to accommodate. And then I stepped in as the school director after I went to school for engineering. I received my degree and then obtained a certificate in early education and childcare, and returned to sort of continue my family's legacy. And the blend of technical and educational expertise has helped approach these operational, logistics, regulatory compliance, and curriculum development, of course. But even with a more technical background, legal challenges can become a full-time job for a small business when there's either challenging compliance issues, like in the case of disasters, or when there's costly litigation, when a business is trying to enforce its rights, like under the lease, which is one of the ways that we came in contact with legal aid. And yeah, our center, enabled to sustain itself and survive, the legal assistance has been critical. We've faced
You touch on the very point, which is my next question to you.
Yeah.
Is really faced by just about all businesses out there, because navigating the law, the rule and regulations is something that most businesses are not equipped to handle,
Yeah.
especially when the cost can be so astronomical. So how were you able to contact the center, and how did it start? And have that put you in a much better position than before?
Yes, yeah, it has. So initially, we contacted legal assistance for a somewhat small issue, and it's grown into being extremely helpful. So after recently taking ownership, the new owners of the property started taking some very aggressive measures, including, like, for example, one month they added over $100,000 to our invoice, claiming that we owed them additional reimbursements for water utilities going back to 2006, when they only bought the property in 2022, and demanding this reimbursement for 18 years of water when we've already been paying, and when their invoices didn't add up to the amount said, and when that's way past the statute of limitations anyways. And so with those kinds of challenges, which I think for common sense, that seems unreasonable, for a landlord to add $100,000 onto your invoice for one month and then tell you that they're going to take legal action against you if you don't pay for water invoices going back 18 years or more. I think that those are the kinds of things that small businesses face, because there's this power imbalance between different players in the commercial and business realm. I think that in general, business owners are assumed to be savvy, and so there's less protections. But the difficulty is that for small businesses, we have to do almost everything. Like, we have to, like, I have a contractor's license, and I got that from engineering, but like, I have to fix things in the business. Businesses have to do lots of different things. And so the fact that the law is very complicated and nuanced, it makes it very hard for small businesses when they're being attacked with all of these different, either their compliance issues, because like in a disaster, there's lots of them, or they're battling a player that has a lot more power in the commercial realm than
Yeah.
they do, who's
So,
a lot more
so
savvy.
yeah. So, given the situation, you really appreciate the legal help provided
Yeah.
by the LA County, and that's one of the main reasons that you also stay in touch with the center, and that helped you with the current crisis because that was during the COVID. But now, how is that helping you now facing this situation? Although it's the kind that Mr. and I will talk about later. Is the kind of invisible impact that you are experiencing now.
Yeah. So even though the wildfires didn't damage our school property, there are, like you said, all of these invisible or indirect impacts. So one of them that I can see is that with a reduced amount of commercial spaces, the rent prices are expected to increase, which puts more financial pressure on businesses like ours. For us, we have a long-term lease. A lot of small businesses don't, which will mean that they could be facing a lot of pressure or displacement because of lease renegotiations and not understanding fully the terms. And legal aid, through legal aid, I've met some other businesses, and those are some of the things that they faced, like either annual leases or monthly leases, not understanding all of the condition. They're being hidden terms. They're not being good regulation around leases, and so with more potential turnover of leases and higher rental amounts, since there's been a reduced amount of supply, there's that, and then there's also businesses like ours where we're trying to hold our landlord to fulfill their health and safety and quiet enjoyment obligations under the lease. And they're sort of taking retaliatory or constructive eviction measures against us. And so in that way, with an increased demand for the spaces, they're emboldened to do that. And so that's been very helpful. So legal aid doesn't have the funding to necessarily get involved in litigation or specific disputes in depth, but what they have been able to do for us, which has been incredibly important, what is that they've been able to secure pro bono assistance for a couple of different things, and with large firms that are happy to help community organizations, and so those have included pro bono assistance for like employment law, compliance, as well as like reviewing and updating employee manuals, those kinds of documentation. And they've also been able to obtain some minor legal assistance to assist with our greater challenges with the landlord, to do some smaller components of what we're doing with the outside attorneys. And the thing that I think I wanted to stress a lot is that with a little bit of work, I've looked at this from like an efficiency and effectiveness standpoint, and with a small amount of work, the attorney at Legal Aid has helped us a tremendous amount, because they can both replicate things. They know certain industries a lot more in depth than a lot of firms. Like they know early education, which is a very highly regulated, licensed industry. They know those very well and very in depth, and they with a lot less effort than a law firm for each early education center figuring it out. They've been able to help and provide us support, and given us some crucial assistance, like going to our licensing advocate with us, and because our landlord was trying to relocate us to a space that would be unsuitable, and working with that advocate to be able to say, is Discovery World's
Right.
concerns, are they valid? And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
been helpful.
I have one last question.
Yeah.
Is that um, does the relationship and the interactions with the legal aid agencies, is it face to face primarily, or it's also also be done remotely because the LA County is so huge.
Yeah. It's not.
What has been your experience?
Yeah, so most of it has been through email,
I see.
and some of it through a phone call. Um, I met face to face with the organization when they were working to increase small commercial tenant protections, which wouldn't have assisted us because we have too many employees, but I wanted to assist with, and so we met in person with lawmakers. So that was the only in-person part. Um, but yeah, everything else has been done either through video, phone, or email, mostly email.
Okay. And as a school, your school is a nonprofit, right? Or is it for profit?
Our school's for profit. Most preschools are for profit, but it sort of doesn't matter because preschools are not very profitable. So, I mean, whether they're for not for profit or for profit, I think the benefit to the community is similar in that if if the county can help support, sustain, and like stabilize small businesses, then community organizations tend to pass those savings to the community because, for example, what legal aid is ultimately doing is reducing tuition increases for the infant center preschool. And without those, there would be families that are quickly being priced out of high quality early education and care.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I think that there's some questions for you in the chat. So if you see them addressing you, please don't hesitate to
Oh,
answer them.
okay.
So our next speaker is Mr. Richard Gomez Trijo. He is a MEHKO business that Ms. LoBianco mentioned earlier. We similar to Liana, we're going to have a conversation with Mr. Gomez Trijo. Mr. Gomez Trijo, can you give an audience an idea about a little bit about your personal background and how you got into the current business? My understanding is that you jump on an entirely different field and then decided to try it out about your entrepreneurships, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Julian, for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. Absolutely. Yeah, so my background, I'm by trade name, I'm an interior designer. I've been doing design for well over 30 years. And the last 6 or 7 years, I was focusing on kitchen design. That led me to work at one of the local big box stores as one of their kitchen designers. And that was at the start of the pandemic in 2019, 2020. So in 2020, a lot of my coworkers, they weren't ordering food like they were normally ordering food, and they were always commenting on, "Man, what smells good when they come into the break room?" And I say it's probably my food, and so that kind of brought on the idea of, hey, well, maybe I can do something here with my food and my coworkers. And so I would bring pasta, I would bring ribs, hot wings. But then I started to develop this wrap. I mean, I'm Hispanic, so a wrap isn't a huge leap from a burrito. It's just an open-ended burrito. So I started with that because it's an interesting vessel to eat food. And that's what I did. So I started with samples. My first sample was a tri-tip, basil pesto, fresh avocado, pickled jalapeno. And where are you going to get that? You're not going to get that anywhere. And so I started with that, and then I moved on to your basic turkey, Italian, and then it went from there. Yeah.
And your motto is I'm not a chef, I make wraps. And
Yeah, that's my
really
tagline. I'm not a chef. I make wraps, and I truly believe that. I mean, chefs, they go through a lot of training, and that's fantastic for them. This, it's a wrap. It's nothing serious, and but I do.
But then
and I
again,
love
I'm sorry, but then again, having a great recipe or a great dish doesn't mean that it will help you to become a successful business owner in the food business. because opening any business is really hard. So how did you discover the LA County MEHKO programs and to see that, okay, I should try this out?
Well,
That definitely helped me.
sure. Well, again, having being a designer, I have to have confidence in what I'm doing, and so what working at the big box store and making the food for my coworkers, that gave me a lot of confidence, and so. MEHKO, I heard about a program where they were approving of street vendors. And so I looked it up on Google, and Google brought me to this acronym MEHKO. Again, as Kelly pointed out, it's a Microenterprise Home Kitchen Operation. And so the further I read, I saw that the Board of Supervisors were approving this plan in 2023 in October. And so I got responses from them. They said, we're giving it to the health department. They should roll it out in February of 2024. Well, that came and went, and then May, and then finally it got rolled out in November. By that time, I had already identified that it was already a side gig, a side hustle, and I wanted it to be more. So I identified every flavor of wrap I made, every ingredient to the penny of what each unit cost me. So I was well versed with that. I knew I had to get a food handler certificate. And so I was getting my ducks all lined up in preparation for this rollout. One of the main things that got me going was the support of my wife. I mean, in other words, she let me do this, and so that's been a huge driving force of me, because I didn't want to let her down, and so that's what I've been doing up to now. So I've slowly built up my clientele, and I found that this could be a viable way to earn money and have a great time doing it.
So is the MEHKO program also like a one-stop shop, that if you have a desire to open up a home business kitchen, and this is where you should start,
Okay,
and they'll show
so
you
the
everything?
MEHKO, so the MEHKO. Yeah. So they have an extensive checklist of what you need to become a MEHKO, and so I've been doing all that to up until the rollout to make sure I satisfied all their requirements. To get a MEHKO permit, you have to go through an extensive checklist of items that your house and kitchen have to have, and so I made sure I satisfied all those requirements. That way, when I got my food handler certificate, I was able to include that in all my documentation required to take to the LA County to get the permit. So that's when it was scheduled for the inspector to come out, and he came out on November 22nd and looked at my residence. I had all the documentation, and he approved my kitchen and my residence for a MEHKO kitchen, and so that was
So
terrific. And
they're like your partner. They work side by side with you on this. And I noticed that Miss LoBianco would like to chime in. Miss LoBianco, please go ahead.
Thank you. Richard, thanks so much for sharing about your experience too. Richard did his research and knew what he wanted to do. He saw this opportunity, saw it as a game changer for his business, and got busy learning all the requirements. That can be daunting though, and so we do want to help with that too. So we at the MEHKO's page that you saw linked, we are having dozens of workshops. So I would suggest starting there. Go and talk to someone, see if this is right for you, and then get all the materials about how you need to get organized to get your permit. We're trying to make it as easy as possible. I just wanted to offer that too. So you can always go to the Office of Small Business with DEO. We have those information in the chat, and go to these workshops to help you out. But I'll pass it back to Richard.
Thank you.
Great. So, Mr. Gomez Trejo, now your business is launched. How's business doing? And even when the business is launched, is operating, is MEHKO still a partner with you along the way?
So it's doing pretty good. Again, I've had several months to build up the client base, and when I go back to them, I say, look, guys, I'm legitimate now, and so it makes it more comfortable for them to place their orders and to talk about me, to spread the word that about me, that I'm legitimate, and so it gives a lot of potential customers more confidence. And as far as my contact with MEHKO, I met the Sarah. She's the head of the MEHKO in here in LA County, and I met her at a seminar in San Fernando, and she's the one who introduced me to the idea of being on this panel. I told her, I said, yes, I'll do it in a heartbeat. I can talk all day about MEHKO and what I'm doing. And I know I don't have the luxury here, but I can, because I'm passionate about this. I'm proud to be a MEHKO. And again, I'm just continually pounding the pavement, building new clientele.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. Our last speaker is Mr. Patrick Nye. Mr. Nye leads the Los Angeles Regional Small Business Development Center Network, LASBDC, serving small businesses in the counties of Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, and Ventura. He has led the LASBDC since 2016. And it's interesting that, similar to Mr. Gomez Trio, he has a previous career, that of being a U.S. Coast Guard, serving on a U.S. Coast Guard in the Arctic. So he also works in leadership role in crafting brewery industries and various other sectors, and he is a small business operator himself. Similar to the previous speakers, I will have a conversation with Mr. Nye. So, Mr. Nye, I'd like to start by asking you to give our audience an idea about a little bit your personal background and the missions of the centers that you are leading, and then also give us a brief pictures of the small business landscape in LA and the Southern California regions.
Great. Thanks, Julian. And I appreciate the opportunity to be with everyone here today and my colleagues on the panel. You all have very interesting stories and resources. So about me, as you've noted a little bit in the bio, I am a veteran of the U.S. Coast Guard. I did lots of things while in the Coast Guard, including traveling to the Arctic, doing climate change studies in the early 90s. From there, I made the obvious transition into the brewing industry and worked at a brewery in Oregon for 6 years. And I've been in public relations, advertising, renewable energy. I think, I have a very diverse resume, but I think a common thread that I have found has been there's a lot of sort of mission related work there. And that certainly lends itself towards my current role, leading the Los Angeles Regional Small Business Development Center Network, the LASBDC. We are a program that's been around for almost 50 years now. It's a national program. It's funded each year federally through a congressional appropriation, and it is, sort of deployed through the U.S. Small Business Administration. So we are considered one of the federal small business resource partners. And for those who don't know about the SBDC, we essentially do two things. One, we provide larger trainings and workshops. Many of those are online now since the pandemic, and given LA traffic, it's just easier to consolidate all of that online, but we still do have some in person. And if you go to our site, which is smallbizla.org, you'll see a schedule. We have workshops several daily on all sorts of different topics. And that's a good way to sort of get your feet wet and learn a little bit about topics. And that can be very general to some things that are very specific series of trainings. The other thing that we do, and this is probably the more important side of what we do, is our one-on-one advising that we do with small businesses. And so we're very much like a coach to a small business. And we would meet with the business work on whatever challenges the business might be facing and help coach them through the steps to be able to, get to wherever they're trying to go. And really, our mission is to help people start and grow their small business. I lead a team of around 200, both staff and advisors. Most of our advisors are small business owners themselves with a huge amount of experience. We offer our services in 20 different languages, so we really do try to reflect the communities that we serve. And in addition to being a federal resource, we are also a major resource of the state of California. They're a major partner of ours and funder. And then we do quite a bit locally too. And as Kelly noted, we've been a long-term partner of Department of Economic Opportunity, assisting them with some of their grant programs and things like that. So we are an integral part of the ecosystem here. And I will say, SBDC's one of the unique features about the program is that, while, you heard all of the different things that LA County offers, that Kelly's responsible for, tons of different programs, lots of different things trying to address needs for all, sort of levels of small business. The same is true at the federal level, and the state of California has a ton of different programs and resources too. We get to be that organization that helps businesses navigate all of those resources. We can hold your hand through taking advantage of all those resources. We are also a no-cost resource. So, in fact, all of our services are based on public funds. So these are your tax dollars in action. So we encourage everyone, all walks of life, all communities across LA to take advantage of these resources that you're funding. These are your tax dollars in action. So we want you to take advantage of this, and we can help you, get access to capital, write a business plan, take your business international, get government contracts, literally anything that your business might face. We can find an expert to match you up with to help coach you through that process. So that's a little bit about the SBDC.
Oh, great. That's a great introduction. So similar to the LA County, your centers also has responded to the recent crisis to help small businesses. Can you give us an assessment of the situations from your vantage? And I believe that you have been working very closely with the LA County on this.
Yes, so we're long-term partners of LA County, and when disaster strikes our area, certainly these most recent wildfires, but even previous disasters, we partner and hit the ground running. So the initial disaster response centers, those were hosted at our SBDC centers. So we were around before and after disasters, just like LA County's programs. So we were already there and able to provide facilities for all of the outreach, all the different resource partners to show up so that we could create some of that kind of one-stop shopping opportunity for people impacted by the disasters. We've learned a lot over the years about other disasters, and what we see as the SBDC is that this is very much a long-term proposition. This is more of a marathon for small businesses than just get a quick resource and move on and just be able to build out. Being able to navigate things like insurance and SBA disaster loans and FEMA resources, finding resources for employees. That's a huge amount of work, and that's just to get things started. Then once your business is contemplating potentially rebuilding or reestablishing itself, that can take years. We're already seeing this happen, with the wildfires we all saw in Maui and Hawaii. There are a number of those businesses still trying to navigate insurance claims to try to begin rebuilding their business. And so that's a long period to have to try to figure out how to adjust your business so you continue to generate revenue. And so we want to be that strong partner to help businesses figure out new strategies, how to pivot your business, how to figure out whether that's relocation or maybe look at a new business line or other things that we can help you strategize on in order to be able to weather things like rebuilding and reestablishing these communities. We think it's important for these businesses to come back, but we know that it takes a lot to do that. We focus quite a bit on access to capital, certainly things like the immediate resources that are available federally through the SBA, their loan programs, the grants that Kelly spoke about. We support people through the application process with all that. But we know, those are more immediate fixes and not sort of the long-term resources. So we have a whole team dedicated to access to capital to help people be able to navigate that. I also want to mention that, a lot of people do think of the disaster as sort of the very visible disaster, those people that lost maybe their retail storefront or things like that. But we know that the economic impacts are much greater than that. We saw a ton of business disruption. There were power outages. The people were in evacuation areas. You went months without being able to really operate your business. And I would say even today, we're seeing a lot of industries still, sort of in a lull and not really back to where they were before the wildfires. There's just sort of this general, sort of slowing that's happened. All of that it would be considered a disaster impact, and that would be eligible for SBA EIDL loans. There may be other sources of capital. We can help your businesses navigate some of those other impacts that may not be very visible, but you may be experiencing as a business owner, just in reduced traffic or, increased costs or other sort of indirect impacts to your business. So we're there to help navigate all of those things with your business.
Great. So what are some of the insight and advice you can share with the small business owners? My understanding is that they often come to you and also to the LA County with one specific request in mind, but the moment they sit down with you and others, they realize that there's a lot more to it, and you have a lot more resources that you can share with. So talk to others about that.
Yeah, so a couple of initial pieces of advice. One, take advantage of these resources that are being presented. Again, most of these are all, public, and you're paying into all this. So you should absolutely take advantage of all of these resources. But two, consider us, if you engage the SBDC, consider us a partner in your business. We're really there to serve as an extension of your business. We are completely neutral in everything we do. We're there to just advocate for you and find the best resource for your business. And we all, know that, sort of bigger corporations, they have whole departments dedicated to HR and their capital and finances and all that stuff. For most of our businesses in the LA region, you're looking at businesses that are between 1 to 5 employees at tops, the very smallest businesses. So you don't have the luxury of having those big departments to figure this out for you. So that's where taking advantage of business advising services like the SBDC and other partners out there are a huge asset. We can help you, sort of figure out your next strategy, how to grow sustainably, even if it's just, somebody coming to us initially because they know they need capital. Hopefully, if we've done our job well, we've gotten them that capital, but also convinced them that we can be a partner in helping to advise them in the best ways to deploy that capital that make them more sustainable and more successful in the future. So we really are there to work with a small business through the life of their business, everything from the very first business plan through growth and acquisition and all the things you might do to expand markets. And then, if you're looking to sell your business, we can assist with that and coaching you the best options for that. So there's just an incredible amount of resources out there, but you have to be willing to be open to this and take advantage of it. And I will say, our name, SBDC, that's a long name. we look governmental, all of that stuff, but these really are resources that are available to everyone in our communities. We work with all small businesses.
So for Liana, her Pacific's help was about legal aid, and then for Richard, Mr. Gomez-Trejo, was about how to get his business off the ground. But capital is one of the things that is also a big challenge for small businesses. Do you have an example of how you can help a small business go through the process, assessing what they need, and then you
Yeah.
mentioned earlier that you can advocate on their behalf to get the right kind of capital that they needed.
Yeah, so we have a great recent example, actually here where we're based in Long Beach. There's a business called San and Wolf, and they are the first Filipino female-owned vegan bakery in LA County, and they have been around for a while. They were very much a pop-up doing farmers markets, sort of just as they could find time to do this and support it, they would do these little pop-up things. Over the past couple of years, we've worked with them. One of our advisors that's great in restaurant businesses and retail helped them get their first brick and mortar spot, and they just opened at the tail end of January here. And I followed them on Instagram, and they have sold out every day by about noon, all of their baked goods. So it's a huge success, but they wouldn't have been able to accomplish that without being able to find a space, being able to negotiate a lease, being able to have the startup capital and loans that they needed. And that's really where their SBDC advisor played a key role in helping them sort of break down each of those steps, making the right introductions, getting their financials and their projections in order, and basically setting them up to be at a spot where they could take that next big step in order to become, a full-fledged, brick and mortar location business that's there, every day. And so that seems to be going very well, and they're getting a fair amount of press, and we're very excited for them.
Great, thank you. So we are at 12:58, and I would like to give each speaker an opportunities to give the last advice. So we go back to Ms. LoBianco, please.
Thank you. I would just say my advice for this group and to share out into the community is that the Department of Economic Opportunity is here for small businesses during the windstorm and wildfire recovery, but also every single day. And we are trying to make sure that we get you education, training and technical assistance, and capital, but we do that in a supportive way. So call us at the Office of Small Business, visit us at the Disaster Recovery Center, check out the links that we put in the chat around legal services in MEHKO, but can continue to stay in touch with us and build a relationship with us, because we're constantly pushing out new programs and resources with partners like our SBDCs and others.
And Liana, Austin?
Yeah, I think I would just encourage all small businesses to look at the legal aid site. For us, we went to it's public counsel, but they're able to assist a lot of businesses. I know there's the question about not-for-profit versus for-profit. They have targeted industries or sectors they're trying to help. And so people may not realize that they qualify, but they, for example, our school assists families that have lower income or families with more vulnerable situations, like children who are being fostered. And for those reasons, they help our business. And then they also help certain minority businesses or businesses in areas that they're trying to sort of help support. So I just encourage people to reach out instead of assuming that they will only help a not-for-profit or they'll only help a micro business. They do help a lot of businesses, and it's been really it's been extremely helpful to connect with them. And they have a lot of attorneys in their on their team that help with different sectors. So like the one that we've worked with is extremely knowledgeable about our sector. So that's been fantastic.
Great, thank you. And Mr. Richards, Gometrio, I must say that I have to somehow make a plan to go over to Monrovia to try one of your wraps. But what is your last word?
Well, I'll be happy to deliver them to you. That's what I do. So, if you're going to start a business, you have to have confidence, you have to have conviction, and you have to be consistent. When you have those things, it'll help you maintain. When I do my work, I'm working as if someone's looking over my shoulder. So I'm going to do things the same way professionally. I'm not going to cut corners, and it's just going to be a natural experience. It gives confidence to my customers. And so the MEHKO program, I'm so proud of it. I'm proud to be a MEHKO, and the LA Health Department. I mean, they have programs. I'm going to talk with Kelly about some grants because, it's always going to help. It's always going to help your business if you're able to get assistance like that. And so I'm still going to be looking at their programs, whatever they have. They may have a program for a discounted cart. I'll try to see about that, because that'll allow me to make more money and more sales over the year. So, that's about all. I mean, I have a lot of fun doing this, and I get great responses. It allows me to sleep well at night.
Great, thank you. And Mr. Patrick Nye, so if somebody thinking about getting business help, a lot of times it can be intimidating. So are there do people have certain qualifications to reach out to you, or
No,
just anybody who needs help?
Our only limitation is that this being in part federally funded, it has to be legal federally. So, for instance, cannabis businesses are not under our purview, but virtually everyone else, we work with all sizes, all sorts of small business, everything from a sole proprietor up to 500 employees, almost every industry. So we really are there to be an extension of your small business. And we know that entrepreneurship can oftentimes be a lonely endeavor. And so we can be there to help be a sounding board and help you navigate all of the challenges your small business might be facing. So please take advantage of these resources. They're no cost, and just visit smallbizla.org.
Great. I would like to thank Ms. Kelly LoBianco for taking time to speak with us and sharing your great resources and information that small businesses can reach out to and benefit from. Liana Austin, thank you for taking time to participate and share your experience in using the legal aid and how it had made a tremendous impact and difference for your business. And Mr. Richards Gomez Trejo, I love your business model and your enthusiasm. And I think the reporter would love to follow up with you and hear more about your journey. And Mr. Patrick Nye, wow, thank you so much. Your office is also like a best kept secret out there, but that people should know about. And so I would like to close the conference and wish everybody a great day. Thank you.